President Obama's decision to nominate former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel as Secretary of Defense has raised eyebrows everywhere, frankly, both sides of the aisle, all different special interest groups. It's one of those classic Washington stories, potentially. As many as 10 Democrats could end up opposing the nomination. Key Republicans are giving their former colleague the cold shoulder. But is their opposition more Israel or Iraq? What is it? Let's bring in our gaggle. MSNBC analyst and former RNC chairman Michael Steele. Roll calls, Shira Toeplitz and Jen Psaki served as traveling press secretary for President Obama's re-election campaign. Jen, let me start with you. Ron Fournier had a piece this morning that said Chuck Hagel's biggest problem sort of facing him potentially on Capitol Hill is that, you know, he is Obama. That this is sort of, he fits Obama more than anything, and so this is almost implying that the people against him are a proxy fight. This is about a proxy of all the things that they've been upset with Obama on, they're going to take out on Hagel.
Well, there's probably some element of truth in that in terms of the politics around it. However, he's a Republican who served for decades in the Senate, who was on the Intelligence Committee, who was on the Foreign Relations Committee, who is a decorated Vietnam War hero. So are Republicans really, I know there's a lot of vocal outrage right now, but are they really going to vote against a war hero who's a Republican, former Republican senator? And that's the question.
Well, Michael Steele, you're the Republican in here. You know, but you know, Hagel's getting hit for things that you would get hit on. You know, he sort of he's one of these guys
who
speaks his mind,
yeah.
Sometimes inelegantly.
Yep.
Some would argue, sometimes in ways that offended some people. He has tried to take those back, try to apologize for them. Should he be given the benefit of the doubt on those?
I think he should, and I think we need to stop playing the Washington game, which we always do. As soon as the president starts to float a name, everyone wants to pile on one way or the other. He's going to have a hearing. It's going to be a very public hearing. The president will have a chance to put his name in officially in the nomination, and he will go through that process, sitting down with the senators, his former colleagues, and having a conversation. And then have him explain those things that people are concerned about. You cannot get to the answer until he answers the questions. So let him answer the questions that people have, and then go from there, and then judge it. And I think at the end of the day, to Jen's point, yeah, you may have 10 Democrats who may be on the fence, certainly Republicans against him. This nomination gets done, period.
Sure, no, the politics of this can revolve around pro-Israeli groups in many ways. Jeffrey Goldberg has a piece this morning reporting, look, AIPAC's not going to take an official position. That might be a surprise to some folks, but AIPAC doesn't take it, and if they start doing it now, whether they work behind the scenes is another front. But I had been told that AIPAC publicly come out against Hagel. Forget it. Those 10 soft Democrats that I know about would have been hard.
Right, and it was interesting, National Jewish Democratic Coalition came out this morning with a statement saying, you know, we're not happy with some of the things Hagel has said about Israel, but, you know,
they've always been the most pro-Obama of the Jewish groups.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this is the real heart of the confirmation fight. I don't think it's as common necessarily that he apologized for about the gay appointee. I think it's going to be an argument about Israel. This is really where it's going to, the heart of the matter.
But Jen, answer this criticism, and I've heard this from the left, who are like, why is it that Obama has now had 3 shots at the Pentagon and twice he's turned to a Republican? This is just playing into the stereotype that Democrats can't handle the military.
Look, I think that's an entirely separate issue. He chose Chuck Hagel for this position because he likes him personally, which is important to the president because of his credentials and because he has the right combination of toughness and experience. You know, he's a guy, they have to make tough cuts at the Pentagon. He's the guy I think the president thinks who can do that. He's the guy who can be his partner wanting down the war in Afghanistan.
3 of the last 4 defense secretaries appointed by Democrats have been Republicans. What does that say about what Democratic presidents believe?
He does want to have a Republican in his cabinet. There's no question about that, or more than one. This is a person who he thought was a right fit, so that is a benefit that he's a Republican. If there was a great Democrat, Michelle Flournoy, I mean, she was out there. She would have been a great choice, too. But look, he was the right person for the job. End of story. The president
so you don't think that I
was going to say, only Nixon could go to China, and the president's thinking is only a Republican can go into the Defense Department and make the cuts that need to be made over the next couple of years. I think that that's part of the rationale behind it.
And I absolutely, it's my understanding that that is amongst the biggest rationale. The question I have, Shira, is if Hagel gets confirmed, but it's tough, and he comes out a wounded defense secretary politically. Does that then, when he goes back to the Hill to go make these arguments, does it make it harder?
It does make it harder. And the timing for this couldn't be more inconvenient, right? Because we have the sequestration. Congress kicked the can down the road for another 2 months. So starting March 2nd, those sequestration cuts really hit hard, and the timing just couldn't be worse.
All right, stick around. We're going to talk another easy subject for Washington to handle, guns. Trivia time. We asked how many men have served as Secretary of Defense